Well, Chairman Nate, Vice Chairman Schatz, Representative Casper, and committee representatives, thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of House Bill 1461. My name is Joshua Grover. Currently, I serve as a secondary principal in the White Goose Public School District in White Goose, North Dakota. I'm very proud to be representing the over 630 students, 50 teachers, 20 support staff members, the Board of Education, and the Superintendent of Schools in our desire to do what we know is best for our students. White Goose resides between two American Indian tribes, has a 62.5–63% free and reduced population, has over 22% of its students receiving special education services. A 2014 study conducted by the University of Maine and many other studies like it demonstrate what has become now common practice or common thought within education. That poverty rates and demographics like ours generally result in poor student performance and poor student achievement. Malcolm Gladwell defines an outlier as a person out of the ordinary who doesn't fit into our normal understanding of achievement. See, according to Gladwell, great men and women are beneficiaries of specialization, collaboration, time, place, and culture. I would argue that White Goose isn't in of itself an outlier according to Gladwell. Here's why. White Goose has maintained overall student proficiency scores in the top 6% of the state. We have a graduation rate that consistently stays over 90%, despite being statistically set up to fail, as many of the studies are saying. While these numbers speak volumes, it's through first-hand account that one really can understand what makes White Goose special. I invite you all at any point to come and see my district, to come into my building and see what's going on. You see, our staff creates relationships with students like nothing I've ever seen. We have adopted a vision for education in which we believe it truly does take a village to raise a student. We all have to be on the same page. We all have to be teaching them the necessities of life and to be successful. This has created a student culture in which kids hang on every word teachers have to say. Student engagement is among the highest I've ever observed. In addition, the Board of Education Administration has made it a priority to create as many opportunities for students both in and out of school. This vision has established a pathway to customize the education of each student. I ask, what do you believe will happen to our student proficiency if this ability to create relationships with students, a customized education, and an endless opportunities to be removed, or were to be removed? Well, essentially, the level of student success at White Goose can either be directly or indirectly associated to the level of freedom our district has. The level of freedom our administration and our teachers have been given in order to create the healthiest possible learning environment for students is the reason we are successful. If we are to continue down our current path, that freedom will be removed. Requiring teachers to align the currently implemented successful curriculum to a new set of standards initiated by private interests would require an enormous amount of time and resources towards something that is still not proven to be universally successful. You as well as I know how limited time and resources are within education. It is my belief such valuable commodities should be saved for our students and not towards something that may or may not have a positive impact on student learning. We already have something that works. According to the bill being introduced, districts will be given the power, at least initially, to choose their own standards appropriate for their students. This type of trust empowers administration and teachers to do amazing things for students. It also allows for time. This time can and should be used to evaluate districts as to the effectiveness of what they've implemented. Models for student or standard development and implementation can then be created. In addition, with the ability to collaborate with other districts, possibly of similar different demographic makeup, the sky's the limit in terms of customizing student education. It really comes down to the ability to be progressive in education. Progressive means to move forward from the norms of the past. We cannot be progressive without democracy. John Dewey once said, modern life means democracy. Democracy means freeing intelligence for independent effectiveness, the emancipation of mind as an individual organ to do its own work. White Goose's ability to be independently effective is a result of our freedom. I ask that you consider preserving our freedom to do what's best for kids. House Bill 1461 does just that. Please endorse this bill so that we can that we can give students the best possible opportunities for success. Mr. Chairman, Representative Casper, thank you for the opportunity for me to exercise my freedom and to speak today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grover. Right, again, another unique situation here, and I'm sure we're going to have questions about that. So, committee, any questions for Mr. Grover?
Well, thank you so much for sharing what's happening in your school district, and there's a lot of positive things that are occurring there. What we're faced here today is to make sure that what's happening in your school district is happening in school districts throughout the state of North Dakota. So what I'm concerned with is if we're allowing school districts to decide on what standards for our students to reach, are we going to be inconsistent throughout our state?
You know, I think probably initially, we probably will be inconsistent. But I think the language, you know, even in the bill, says that the thumb is always on the pulse of what's going on. You know, having the superintendent involved and the committees involved is still an important factor. And as I mentioned before, trying to go back and see, you know, looking at Newtown and seeing what they've done and what's been successful in understanding that, you know, we can take them and maybe use them as a model for standards creation and standards implementation. You know, while they did take the Common Core, something about it's right, we can go back and use them as a model. But it's that committee involvement and having some state influence, I think, still needs to be there. But it's just the idea that we need the ability to see what's right first, you know, on a local basis.
Thank you.
I mean, I could ask a question about, you know, my understanding of the Common Core is that it's actually broad-based enough for you to be able to sort of work within that to develop curriculum. I wonder if you could speak to that. Is that not the case then?
You know, I actually agree with you. I think, you know, we heard earlier today, we had some discussion. I don't believe that there's any reason why we can't use the Common Core as a model. I don't think you know, we can't use it as something that we can look towards to start a basis of our system. You know, and I think when we look at schools like Newtown, starting from scratch, great. But when we have other schools that have higher standards already, why would we want to backtrack and do that? You know, I think having any sort of punitive effect on students not following, or schools not following Common Core is our mistake. I think we need to make sure that it's available for them to reflect upon and to unpack and to align the curriculum if they want to do it that way. But ultimately, it comes down to their decision what they believe.
So could you tell us a bit about what actually frames and directs your curriculum development within your school? Are you using standards of any kind?
State standards. Yeah.
Right, okay.
The state resources.
Okay, right. So your argument, just to be clear, your argument is that the state standards are expecting more than the Common Core standards.
Agreed, yes.
Okay.
You know, in our state standards, and you know, I'm going to step out of my role briefly. Our state standards are quite, I know, our state standards are quite higher than the Common Core state standards. So when we step back in, you're exactly right. When we look at that, and even our state standards, you know, we localize our standards as well. When we look at, you know, the white U.S. standards, they're actually higher than the state standards when we look at that. And when we start with a framework. We start with a framework. It's not necessarily mandated by anything, but we start with a framework and we evolve from there.
So my concern is this. You know, White Goose, it's great to know that you have the standards that are even higher than Common Core. My thoughts are this, and I think it's a valid concern, that we're not going to have that across the board in the state. I think that we're going to have smaller districts, and we have quite a few smaller districts that will probably do just what it takes to get by. And then we're going to start lacking consistency across the state. When we have kids graduating from school, juniors taking the ACT, we're going to see a huge disparity across the state. Kids are being taught, what they're retaining, and how they're applying that to post-school outcomes.
You know, and I can definitely see your point. The one main thing that I sit on, especially with this bill, is the idea that we can collaborate within groups, within our communities, so that we can You know, my desire is that we would collaborate within similar demographics, similar areas within the state, and we work together to establish some standards that are high enough and that we believe and we know is best for our students. You know, but whether or not that happens, you know, we gotta give it a chance, and we gotta see what happens in the next year, you know. That's what we're looking at.
To that end, should we just keep it Common Core while we figure out that collaboration?
I could echo that, as we heard earlier. It's been basically a year. The person spoke about that before. We're talking about trying something different, giving it a chance. We have Common Core, and we haven't given that a chance. So I'm not sure that's a.
You know, and I think that's where the discussion, when we get lined up with the testing, and the, you know, what would the effect of that would be on, you know, the big picture. You know, as far as Common Core, you know, yeah, we could keep it, but making a mandate, making it something we have to go towards, you know, we know that that's not necessarily right for us. You know, especially in our local level, it's not gonna be well, it's not gonna go well with our teachers, it's not gonna go well with our students. We know that it's not good enough because of where we're at already. You know, to all of a sudden have to reevaluate and then start realigning our curriculum back down to the, you know, the Common Core standards, that would be hard for us as well. A lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of energy.
Would there be a way to link your Common Core the Common Core standards to the current standards that you have? And then make sure that your curriculum is hitting them, is making sure that you're lining up both your district standards and the Common Core standards.
Well, and of course, I think there's a way of doing that. I think that, but again, it doesn't come down to, you know, can we have that ability? I mean, do we have the ability to do that? You know, the freedom to be able to do that?
I would think you might, I think you would, if you have the Common Core state standards in effect, but you up the ante a little bit,
Right.
then I think you would be.
Yeah, and it just comes down.
Following the letter of the law.
Yeah, it just comes down to the time and resources. You know, but when I think about buy-in from my own teachers, I go, you know, all of my teachers, and I can hear it, all of my parents, and they can hear it, will go, why? Why would we even do this? We have something that works. So, you know, yes, I could say, you're doing this, but how fair would that be to them when there's a system that's already in place? You know, I could give them that dictated order to go ahead, and we're aligning everything in Common Core right now. And for some subjects, it may take as little as, you know what, okay, we're already doing this, check, 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 check. For other ones, it's gonna be a substantial amount of work, and it just depends on where they're at, you know, and how they view things. And mostly, it has to do with, you know, making sure that they believe what they're doing at that moment is best for their students.
As far as what you guys have is currently working, we'll applaud you guys. Seems like everything is going very well. But how do we know that the Common Core won't even bring your notch that's here up to here?
You know, I've always been a practitioner of trying to find out what works. I mean, I really do. But I'm also a practitioner of doing research-based practices. And for me, there's just not enough information to say that I can with full faith, go into something like this. You know, I need to see more information. And maybe that's what we're going to see in the next couple of years, and maybe we will see this with the other states that have implemented it. But right now, I'm uncomfortable doing so because I don't have enough information, and I think that's where I'm at.
Well, thank you very much, Josh Gerber. Yeah, nice job. Out of roll. So.